Hot dog. We're doing it again. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Minor League Fan Club, where we travel to baseball towns exploring minor league level ballparks in their cities. I'm your host, John Southey, Chief Minor League Fanatic, and in today's episode, we are traveling to the village of Rosemont, Illinois, home of the Chicago Dogs, an independent professional team in the American Association. Those Dogs play at Impact Field, which finds itself right next door to O'Hare Airport in Chicago. The ballpark opened in 2018. The Chicago Dogs, if it's not obvious, get their name from the iconic Chicago hot dog. The stadium was built after the mayor of Rosemont tried to entice the owners of Chicago Cubs to relocate while they were having trouble negotiating with the city of Chicago to do renovations. Although the team never moved, the mayor still wanted to bring baseball to the village, and Impact Field and the Chicago Dogs were born. Impact Field is in what Rosemont considers their entertainment district. Lots of restaurants and shopping to do in this area. It is located right across the highway from O'Hare Airport, the fourth busiest airport in the U.S. Our ballpark guide this week is Evan Gersonde, who has been with the team for 6+ years. He currently serves as the director of sales. Our fan guides this week are Mike Tribby and Kelly and Christina Robinson. Lastly, our local organization this week is a hidden gem in Chicago, Claremont Collections Automotive Museum. Now let's head to the ballpark, Frank. You all.
Hot diggity dog. I'm excited to be exploring Impact Field today with Evan Gersonde. I hope I said that right, of Chicago Dogs.
You nailed it.
Awesome, thank you. Evan has been with the team for 6.5 years, so I can only imagine that he will be able to give us the ins and outs of Impact Field so we can all have a doggone good time. Hi, Evan. Thank you for coming on today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about all Impact Field has to offer.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear about it. So before you show us around the field, can you share what you've enjoyed most about working for the Chicago Dogs organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I've been here for 6.5 years. The team, our first season was in 2018, and I got hired in August of 2017. So to answer that question, it's really to see the growth that we've had. It's just so many people in the beginning when we would call them for, season tickets or group tickets, whatever it may be, they thought we were a hot dog stand or, they thought we were just some kind of food broker or something like that. So it's really cool now to just see the growth that the brand has made. And not only that, but you see sweatshirts out in the community. I obviously wear a dog sweatshirt every day, and people come up to me even out where I live in the suburbs and say, hey, great season last year. We love going out to games, things like that. So it's really just been the brand kind of awareness that we've seen grow over the past few years.
That's so cool. And it's funny that you even mentioned that they thought you were a hot dog stand. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, if you type in Chicago Dogs, that's what you get in Google. It's either something about hot dogs or the team comes up first. So that's pretty
exactly
funny.
Right. Yeah. So many times they'll be like, what is this, a new hot dog stand, whatever it may be. So it was tough sledding for a couple of years, but people now have a better grasp of who we are.
Perfect. So yeah, that kind of leads into my next question. Since Chicago Dogs are an independent team in the American Association and they're in a 2-team MLB city, how did they try to differentiate themselves and attract fans to say, hey, come over to watch a Dogs game instead of maybe going to see the White Sox or the Cubs?
Yeah, absolutely. It all started with the name, right? Chicago dogs. It's something that everybody in Chicago, you know about a Chicago dog. You have a very strong opinion on how a hot dog should be eaten and
Hmm.
made. So it really all started with the name. And then we have really strived to become that family friendly kind of place where we will do things that, the major league teams, maybe they just can't, right? It's things that we have a much smaller, more intimate ballpark experience. We have 6,300 seats. So it allows us to have a lot more flexibility with what we can offer to our fans more than, maybe the Cubs or the White Sox want to do, or even if they're able to do. Like we do pregame catch on the field every Sunday where all of the fans in attendance, they can come down on the field, play catch for a while. The team also comes out and signs autographs. So it's just little things like that that we try to really focus on the fan and the family experience.
Yes.
Just because so many, you think about a family and kids at this age, they don't necessarily care if they're going to see the Cubs or the White Sox. They don't know. So they're just coming out to see somebody playing professional baseball. And when they get to see or get an autograph from one of those players who are actually down on the field, it's their eyes just light up and they don't care. They're
That's
still getting an
awesome.
autograph from a professional ball player.
Yes, and that's exactly what I think minor league level baseball just embodies, and that's what I love about it so much. So that's perfect that the dogs they do that. That's great. So, all
Absolutely.
right, let's learn about Impact Field and all the wonderful features and amenities that are available. So, imagine I just came into town. I made a stop at my hotel before the game. Do you recommend that I drive my rental car over to the ballpark or take public transportation?
Well, that is going to be completely up to you. So, being in Rosemont, there are so many hotels, right? There's some within walking distance, there's some within driving distance, right?
Oh,
So,
cool.
I mean, if you're 2 blocks away, 1 block away, easy enough to walk on over. If you're, a mile, 2 miles down the road, sure, you can bring your rental car over. Obviously, Uber, there are public transportation around here. There's a shuttle that stops at a couple different places throughout Rosemont, and Impact Field is one of those stops. So, you could bring that over. But if somebody did decide to drive, we do have a parking garage right attached to the stadium here, and it's just $3 per car,
Ooh, good.
literally attached to the stadium. So you come out, you go down the elevators or the stairs of the parking garage, and you're right at the main entrance of the ballpark.
Oh, cool. So usually I kind of hesitate to get into parking garages because I'm like, oh, I just want to get out after. Is it
Mm-hmm.
pretty quick after you get out?
The out is a little tougher. I'll say
Yeah.
that. The in is easy. There's
Yeah.
there's about 850 spots in there. So the out is a little bit tougher just because it is turning out onto a relatively busy street.
Okay.
But the cops come in, they shut it down. They do the light controls, all things like that. So it's simple enough. But the out you may be waiting a little bit just because it's not as there's only one out, right? As
Okay.
opposed to, a major parking garage where they have, 3, 4, 5 ways to get out.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So as a director of sales, I have to believe that you know where the best seats in the house are. So first and foremost, how are ticket prices to attend the game?
They're affordable, and that's one of the things, like I said earlier, we want to be that easy place for a family to be able to come out. You can take your family to a ballpark and you're not breaking the bank, right? You can do it a couple times a summer as opposed to a Cubs or White Sox game. You're doing it one time a summer maybe, and that's it. So ticket prices, we have tickets out in the bleachers that are just $9, and then throughout the ballpark. It kind of goes up depending on where you want to sit. There's a $12, a $16, $25, and then we also have an all-inclusive option, which is our River
Mm,
Stadium Club. So that includes an all-you-can-eat premium buffet, beer, wine, soda, water, all that's already included, and that's $85 a ticket. So when you really break it down for the vantage point of what you're going to see, as well as the food and the beer that's all included, that's really one of the best values
yeah.
here, not just at the ballpark, but in all of Chicagoland.
That sounds delicious. I mean, if you get all those amenities and features in that part. So what kind of food did they offer if you did get that ticket?
Yeah, so it's a rotating menu, right? So there's always a few like starter salads, right? So maybe like a green salad, a Caesar salad, a pasta salad, something along those lines. A few starters, whether it's mashed potatoes or asparagus or vegetables, whatever it may be. And then there's typically a carving station where it's roasted glazed turkey or like a flank steak, or we've had turducken up there one
Oh,
time.
wow.
And then outside of that, there's always desserts. And then, of course, a build your own Chicago hot dog stand. So
I was
it's
gonna
a
say,
more elevated menu than what you would get down in the typical concession stand.
okay, is ketchup offered with the Chicago dog?
It is. There is ketchup available. I remember in the beginning, we were asked if we were even going to have ketchup in the ballpark, and
Oh,
we decided that although it's frowned upon around here, we would give the offer, for maybe those out of town guests.
oh, okay, perfect. When I go to a game, I usually look for the unique seats, so that is pretty unique in itself. But where would you recommend maybe a family go sit, or if I did come by myself and I just didn't want to splurge $85 that night,
Mhm.
where would I find the most unique spot?
I would say the coolest part is down the third base line. So Dog's home dugout is on the third base line. And one of the things is we don't have our clubhouses don't connect like underneath to the dugouts. So the teams actually have to walk across the field. When they're warming up, things like that. So there's a lot of player and fan interaction over there.
Mm,
The players are always out there, they'll sign autographs. We throw some stuff into the crowd pregame. So I would say down the third base line is just the coolest place for fan interaction, and that's where a lot of our diehard season ticket holders sit.
okay.
And they just have, those kind of communities that they've built with each other as they've been coming out for years and years. So
Mm,
it's just a cool kind of atmosphere to be a part of. And then also down the third base line, when you reference families, that's where our kid zone is. So we've
oh,
got a little pitching game, a little batting game. So there's a face painter over there. Sometimes we have a balloon artist. So down the third base line is really where you're going to see a lot of the kid interactive side of things.
oh, okay, cool.
Mhm.
I love going to games for the promotions, bobbleheads,
Mhm.
t-shirts, and jerseys. So what are some of the cool ones that you guys offer when, I should be considering for a game to attend?
For sure. So we've got a couple of different things. We have, something that happens, we call them continuity nights. So it's every Wednesday night, every Friday night. So we've got that, and I'll list those real quick. But on Wednesdays, we have dollar hot dogs, and we actually rebrand and we play as the Chicago Wieners as
Mm,
opposed to the Chicago Dogs. So it's called Wiener Wednesdays. Then Thursdays, we have $2 canned beers during the game, and then post game fireworks. Fridays, we always do a giveaway, like you said, whether it's a bobblehead or a t-shirt or a hat or a pennant, all kinds of different things. And then kids get to run the bases post game on Fridays. Saturdays, we always do a theme night. So some of our most popular are like St. Patrick's Day and Mardi Gras, Jimmy
mm,
Buffett, Elvis. So we like to do the ones where people can like dress up, just
yeah.
because people love to, show their fandom of Elvis. That's one of our biggest ones. People come in and they've got the whole get up. Mike Trippy, as we've talked about, he's got a whole Elvis Chicago Dogs
No way.
outfit, and it's awesome. It's fantastic. So those are some of the best ones. And we also have fireworks on Saturdays as well. And then Sundays, like I mentioned earlier, we have pregame catch on the field along with autographs, and we
Mm,
also do $3 bottomless popcorn and $3 bottomless soda. So Sundays are really kind of that family day where everybody can come out, have a really cool experience. But outside of that, like you said, we always do the giveaways. We've got our promotional schedule is still being finalized, but it'll
mhm.
be out in the next couple of weeks here. But we'll do, t-shirt, pennant, bucket hat. That's always a popular one. We have a backpack giveaway. So lots of different unique stuff. We
Yeah.
find things that have worked year over year, but we always try to introduce new things just to see what'll work. Because
Yeah.
we can't stay stagnant. We have to keep up in the bar.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun. I love
Mhm.
looking at the promo schedules of teams and seeing what new thing that they think might work. And I know like last year, everybody had the Hawaiian shirts, and I
Yeah.
think those were a hit. So,
Yeah, those
yeah,
were super cool. Yeah, they looked really good. It's something we've looked into doing. So hopefully sometime down the road we'll have our own, Chicago Dogs Hawaiian shirt.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I've been to ballparks where you have to arrive 3 hours early for some of those
Hmm.
promos. I've been
Yeah.
to ballparks where you can be an inning in and it's still fine. How early should teams or how how early should people consider coming to the ballpark for giveaways
Yeah,
like that?
so our gates typically open about an hour prior to the game. That does vary, on Sundays, for example, we open an hour and a half just to make sure that we have enough time to do everything. But on a Friday, when we do a giveaway, gates will typically open about an hour prior. So we find that that's plenty of time, an hour to a half hour prior.
Okay.
The parking garage, like I said, has 850 spots. It's an easy in, and once you get into the parking garage, or I should say out of the parking garage, you're right at the main gate. So
Oh.
obviously some giveaways are more popular than others, where we
Mhm.
do have lines down the street. Like we did a squeeze bobblehead. I think it was back in 2019, and people were lined up probably 3 to 4 hours early,
Wow.
and the lines were just down the street and around the corner of the ballpark, essentially. So those are our most popular, but in most cases, an hour to a half hour to get a giveaway, you'd
Yeah.
probably be in good shape. But I do recommend for people who are coming out for the first time just to get here that hour, that 45 minutes early, just so you can get here and explore, right? It's not as
Yes.
big as a major league ballpark, but it is a 360-degree concourse. So you can walk through, you can walk around the outfield, go stand behind the batter's eye under the scoreboard. There's just a lot of cool different vantage points for you to take in. So I always recommend for people who are coming out for the first time to get here a little bit early, just so you're not rushing in, finding your seat, by the time the national anthem starts.
Right. Is there any policies for you guys that, for cameras or bags or anything for
No,
people
so
to consider?
we're pretty lax. Lax is probably the wrong word, but flexible, I would say, is so cameras, people can bring them on in. When it comes to bags, we don't have like a strict bag policy or a clear bag policy or anything
Okay.
like that. We do have security at the front, so bags get wanded and checked, things like that. But outside of that, we don't really have any regulations, no outside food or beverage,
Okay.
things like that. But if people need to bring in a stroller or a baby bag, things like that, we're very accommodating.
Oh, very good. I know a lot of people look for that one, and sometimes
Yes.
that bag policy, especially, you get there and then
Mm.
you find out it's only clear bag and you got to go all the way
Right,
back to the
exactly,
car.
exactly.
Perfect. So I saw on the Chicago Dog site there is a reading program for students to earn free tickets outside. If they read outside the classroom.
Yep.
And you mentioned the kids zone, autographs, throwing, having catch on the field. What are some other ways that Ballpark encourages the youth to come out to the field with other kid amenities, kid promos?
Yeah, for sure. So we do a couple cool things. So in the beginning of the season, we always do a preseason education game, and this is really geared towards, schools, middle schools, grade schools, even high schools in the area. To come on out, it's a game where it's all focused on education. So everybody that comes in will get a Chicago Dogs workbook that we actually go through and we fill out together throughout the game, right? Like our on-field host will be like, okay, this half inning, turn to page 5, we're doing Jersey math or something along those lines. So we make that very educationally based. Some schools need it to say, hey, this is an educational field trip, and some
Oh,
people
right.
just use it as an end of the year field trip. So we kind of we play to both audiences on that
Yeah.
one. But that one's always very successful. We've actually we do a second one now. So we do the first one beginning of the season, preseason, and then another one later on in May. That one's more geared towards the city schools who may be in a little bit longer, but still the same deal. They come out, get the workbook, all just very kid friendly and kid focused.
Mhm.
And then also throughout the year, we always do our camper days, just because there's so many summer camps around here, whether it's YMCA's or park districts. They always come out, and this year we're doing 3 of them, where it's a day game. They can come on out, they get a Chicago Dogs hat, they can add on a sack lunch of a hot dog, soda, whatever it may be. But that one's also still kid focused, where you'll hear the Baby Shark songs, and it'll be all the dances. So those days are a lot of fun. It's a lot of kids screaming and having a
Yeah.
great time. But those are some of the coolest days. I love on a day like that because they all wear like matching shirts, for the most
Yeah.
part. Like
Yeah.
some will be in orange, some will be in blue. So it's cool just looking around the ballpark and seeing all the different kind of clusters of different colors. Because those days do sell out, so it looks great in the seating bowl. So those are kind of our biggest kid days. But to your point, we do have the reading program, and we also do a library program in the summer. So we partner with a bunch of different libraries in the area, and they essentially just use our tickets as one of their incentives or their prizes. where, if they complete X amount of hours reading, the child gets a free ticket, and then the parents can come out along as well. So,
Oh, very good.
yeah.
All right. So I'm thinking of the food. You are Chicago dogs, and of course you have Chicago dogs there.
Yes.
But for those that aren't going to get the turducken, what do you suggest that they try to eat and drink there?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of different options. We've got a really good Polish stand. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Wiener Circle downtown?
I've heard of it, but
Okay.
not familiar.
So the Wiener Circle downtown is a very raunchy after dark kind of, it's this Chicago spot. Like they'll
Yeah.
come in and they verbally abuse you, and that's the draw of it, right?
Yeah.
It's only after 10 o'clock, right? Whatever it may be. So it's a very unique spot and in Chicago, and obviously they have great hot dogs, great Chicago dogs. So we have the second location of the Wiener Circle inside the ballpark. So
Yes.
there's only two locations of the Wiener Circle, the real one downtown, and then by name here at the ballpark.
Mhm.
The difference is that one is not raunchy. They will not verbally abuse you. They love you there. So, but that's a great place because they're focused on the charbroiled side of things. So great charbroiled hot dogs, charbroiled Polish, smothered in mustard and onions. They also have charbroiled burgers. So across the board, that's one of my favorite stands.
Mhm.
But you can also get your standard stuff, right? Chicken tenders. We have loaded nachos. The nachos from Salsa with you get jalapenos, salsa, sour cream, and then it's like a carnitas almost.
Okay.
And you can get that in the Chicago Dogs helmet. So that's another one. So I would say Wiener Circle for the charbroiled Polish, and then Salsa for the completely loaded nachos.
Wow. I always say this, but every time anybody talks about their food at the stadium, I have to make a list of everything.
Right,
But
exactly.
Yeah. But that's the point of this whole podcast. And
Right.
I think I'm just going to have the longest list of food that I'm going to have to try. But, Chicago dogs, they sound like a great, fun, and affordable alternative to watching baseball. And like you said, it's really geared towards the family. So I think the ballpark, it sounds like they've done a wonderful job at making that experience really cater to everybody. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for your time, for showing us around Impact Field today. If the people want to learn more about Impact Field in the ballpark, where can they find you or the team?
Absolutely.
Online.
So website is www.thechicagodogs.com, all one word, all together. So that's the website. That's got a lot of great information on it, whether it's, how to get here, pictures, ticket options, things like that. So that's just kind of your overarching option. But my email personally is Evan, EVANG, as in George, at thechicagodogs.com. Once again, Evan G at thechicagodogs.com. So people can reach out via email, or if they have any questions, they can give us a call, which is 847. Oh my gosh. Sorry, that was our old number. Oh my gosh. Forgive me. 224-781-1809. Man, that number's just stick in your head. Yes.
Yes, of course.
224-781-1809.
Perfect. And I'll add those to the show notes, and I'll put the correct one down there for
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So thank you again, Evan. I really appreciate your time and showing us around. So I just want to say, go Dogs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Welcome back. What a treat we have for this fan guide segment. Today, we get to learn more about Impact Field in the city of Chicago from three wonderful guests. Welcome, Kelly, Christina, and Mike. How are you all doing tonight?
Good. Wonderful.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. If I sound excited, it's because I genuinely am. I'm honestly overjoyed that I get all three of you to be on tonight. I know you all are huge Chicago Dogs fans. I really wanted to have all of you on this episode one way or another, so I'm glad all three of you can. So thank you for visiting the fan club today. But let's see what fun things that we can learn about from three Chicagoans. All right. So before we head to the ballpark, can each of you share what it's like for you to be a Chicago Dogs fan?
May I start?
Yeah.
Please
Okay.
do.
It's crazy. I don't know what came over me when I go to Impact Field. I'm a different person, so it's kind of a neat thing for me. I just love being there, and I love supporting the team. I'm just kind of, and I've never been a big sports guy, and when I came to Impact Field, something clicked, and I'm all in. I'm all in, and I just love being there. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, you can definitely tell, and you would never know that you've never been a sports guy, but I've heard you say that on other shows.
Yeah, it's
But
different.
you would think you
Difference.
grew up loving baseball, and if the Chicago Dogs were an MLB team, I think you would have loved them all your life for sure.
For sure, for sure.
Yes.
Like I said, it's something I can't explain, but it clicked, and I'm enjoying the ride.
Awesome. How about you?
Yeah, for me, it kind of came more so over time. Like their first season, 2018, we went to the very first game, and then I think I only went to one, maybe two more games the rest of the season. And then in 2019, I got a 6-game package, and it just, the more I went, the more and more I just enjoyed it. And like we used to be White Sox season ticket holders, and we dropped that for many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And most people who are baseball fans can guess what a lot of those reasons are, which is kind of hard considering I've been a White Sox fan basically for almost 50 years. But just going to Dogs games, it's comfortable, it's laid back. I mean, it's a much smaller stadium, so it's not as intense, but I just feel comfortable there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a good experience. And, you're at a major league park. You're one of tens of thousands of people. I kind of like that it's a little more intimate. You kind of get to know people a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of why this whole community just really enjoys like minor league level baseball, is just because that intimate feeling you get not only with being in that stadium, but like you said, with one another. I've met you guys not in person, but I feel like I already know most of you. Christine, I know you through Kelly because
Yeah.
he shares you. So I again, I feel like I know you as well, and you don't even have to share anything. Yes.
Good, because I'm really bad at social media.
Oh, it's all right. He does great for the both of you. So normally a minor league level team is located in a not so frequently visited city, but the Chicago Dogs are not only in probably one of the most populous cities in America, but they also share a city with two major league teams. But I think it's pretty fantastic that the Dogs have been able to like make a name for themselves in a big city that's already got a bunch of passionate fans. There's other teams that are very nearby. I was looking at the map, and there's a lot of baseball in the Chicago area.
Right.
And I mean, they play, Kane County, and then there's the Slammers are nearby. So there's a lot of baseball that people can have a fandom for.
Yeah, Schaumburg is only 20 minutes away.
Yes,
Literally 20 minutes
right.
away.
In the Boomers, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. What blew me away was when I was looking at the photos. Okay, so I've not been to a game. I haven't even been to Chicago.
Oh.
But I know. So I got to get to Chicago. I know. But one thing that really blew me away was that even though they're not affiliated, they did not skimp on this facility whatsoever. It is a beautiful looking ballpark.
Yeah.
So this question is for each of you. What is your favorite part about this great looking ballpark?
For me, it's the intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was saying before, it's like I think it's like over the last 10 plus years, my preference for major league and minor league has completely switched. It's like I still enjoy going to major league games, but going to a minor league game it's just a much more comfortable, enjoyable experience.
Right.
And like Impact Field, it's great. I mean, our tickets are on the first base side, where like 6 rows up from the visiting dugout, and it's like we can hear them in the dugout. You can hear them chatting. You're not so far away from the field. And it doesn't matter where you're sitting, you're not far away from the field. I mean, it only sits just over 6,000 fans, and just the intimate setting is what I think is what I enjoy most. Because it's funny, I can have a bad day, and as soon as I walk into Impact Field, a smile just comes over my face.
Awesome.
I'm just so happy to be at a baseball game, but like specifically there. I mean, it happens others there, but it's literally every time I walk in, because there's times it's like, oh, this is, day's been terrible. I walk in like, oh, this is great. We get to spend 3 hours here.
That's awesome. I love that. That sounds, I mean, now I really want to go, because you just made it sound like I'm really missing out.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know that I love mascots, so I think I might go with the mascots.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not just saying that because of my love of mascots, but Squeeze is your classic, happy-go-lucky guy, and then Ketchup, because there's no ketchup on a Chicago dog, so it's an anthropomorphic ketchup bottle who's like the bad guy. And he has 2 different costumes. One is like a trench coat, so he's like a flasher,
Right.
and then the other one is like his prison stripes. And they have like such a perfect dynamic of like the sweet classic happy guy, and then like the naughty, like, troublemaker who's always trying to put ketchup on hot dogs.
That's great. And it's funny because you jumped way ahead. So I was going to ask you, because I knew you did love mascots. So who's your favorite, Squeeze or Ketchup?
I love them both differently.
Oh, okay.
And
That's fair.
They also have a rally pickle.
Yes, I heard about the rally pickle.
Rally pickle is always great to see.
Yeah.
Is that different than the running pickle that you race?
No, that's the same guy.
Okay.
Rally pickle really shows up in the 9th inning if we're losing. So rally pickle usually he'll do the race. I guess it's every game maybe, but he only comes out and performs when we're losing in the 9th inning, because he literally runs through the chairs and the seats and gets everybody to rally up the team. So it's pretty fun. They play holding out for a hero, and he just goes crazy. So it's really
awesome.
And as he's running through, the kids start following him.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of like the Pied Piper. So I've started referring to him as the Brined Piper.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like that. I like that. And if I could jump in. So the thing that I love about Impact Field is the atmosphere there. It's because it's literally right across the street from O'Hare Airport, one of the largest airports. You can hit a 3-wood off the roof of the building and hit it onto the tarmac. And so airplanes are literally flying overhead every couple minutes. There's a airplane going here and there, and then the traffic. You're right across from the tollway, and it has this big city feel, buzz in the air, but it's easy to get to. It's right off the tollway. It's not like you have to go to Wrigley Field and park a mile away, or you park right there and you're right in. So it's got this great buzz, but it's easy access. And once you're in, it's just it like tells it you it's like a big hug, just like a big warm hug. It's got a great combination of action, buzz, excitement, and then of course the pastoral feel of the game. So and the other cool thing that I love about it is the 360 paddock. You can walk completely around the stadium. And for me, I love it because I'm always waving my flag and banging my drum. I have a seat, but I never use it. And I'm always around. So it's perfect. It's perfect. There's not a bad seat in the house, and it's got, like I said, it's a great combination of atmosphere in there. It's everything you could want.
Perfect. Nice. I was going to say that the atmosphere, you have to be part of it because I've heard about you at these games with your drums. So
We
be part of that atmosphere.
we literally sit in our seat and watch him. It's like, oh, what did he? Oh, Mike's out there. Oh, wait, now he's over there. He's back behind us. You can hear the drum.
Oh, that's great. That's really fun. I like when somebody comes to the games with the drums. That's a pretty unique experience. If somebody does that, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Locally, somebody did that for the playoff game this past year, and I thought that was. He usually is at the soccer games, and he came to the missions game this time. You talked about a lot of fun, and as of this recording, I saw the Chicago Dogs. They posted a teaser, right? Looks like there's about to be a lot of fun going on. So what are some of the most fun things that out-of-towners, new visitors might look out for when they're visiting Impact Field? Promotions or on-field things, stuff that's going around the stadium. What do you think I should kind of schedule around if I was coming?
Oh, they have a lot of good on-field promotions. I think one of my favorites to watch is the battle balls, which are those the big inflatable plastic bubble balls.
There's always 3 rounds of
Mhm.
people
smashing into
each
yes. I love that one too. Yes.
They also do it's usually siblings, young siblings, sumo wrestling. So they'll get into the big inflatable sumo and they'll try and knock each other out, and that's always entertaining, especially when it's like much older and much younger sibling. There was one who lost and he just started crying, and you could see his brother felt bad for beating him.
I've seen that in person as well. Not that same scene, but I've seen it happen. Yes.
Yeah, that's the neat thing. Every between innings, it's always something, and it's always with a fan. So it's not like just the mascots dancing around. They'll get a fan in between every inning. Kids or adults, they have some kind of adult games. Like my favorite is the I can't. Oh my gosh! Look at me. What's the pachinko one where they
Plinko.
Plinko, yeah. And you can win money to get used in the merch store, but it's just like I said, it's every inning. It's something for the fans, and you can't go wrong there. There's always something to do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Lucky Dog is the
Lucky
name
Dog,
of
there you go.
Plinko one.
Oh.
And it's great because they have it's $100 one that like moves back and forth. And it's rare that someone actually gets it in there, but whenever someone does, it's awesome how the whole crowd just like cheers for them.
And they also bring in an Elvis impersonator, usually 2 times a year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For Elvis night.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is
that's my
always
favorite.
great.
Yeah, his name is Hugh. He's awesome. Young kid, and he does Elvis in it. That night sells out every year.
Yeah.
really?
They would bring it back for the playoffs too.
Yeah.
He'll always at least do 1 regular season game, maybe 2, but the last 2 playoff seasons, or last 2 seasons for the playoffs, they brought him back and he performed during the playoffs as well.
I've never seen an Elvis impersonator at a game before. Very cool. All right, so this is probably one of my favorite parts, and I'm probably going to say that every episode because I love food. The team is named the Chicago Dogs. The Chicago Dog is probably as iconic as the Coney Dog, which ironically is they have a team in New York City with 2 major league teams, and so does Chicago, right? So with that being said, is the Chicago Dog the best food they have at the stadium, or is there something else you'd highly recommend trying?
I think that is the best entree at the stadium.
Really?
Yeah. Although
Awesome.
they also, if you want a side, they also have elotes.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
do like that.
Elotes are really good. I'm a pescatarian, so I can't really speak on the Chicago Dog that they serve there because they don't have a vegetarian option.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do have a hot dog or a veggie dog, I do Chicago style, minus the mustard and sport pepper because I don't like either.
Oh, really?
So there's a place on between our house and the stadium where I will stop on occasion and I will get 2 veggie dogs before the game. So
Yeah, and every game I get a fully loaded Chicago style hot dog, but I love the brisket nachos, and it comes in a souvenir helmet, and those are delicious too.
All right. So the Chicago dog and the brisket nachos. All right. That is noted. Okay.
And Sundays they have bottomless popcorn.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Well, there we go. I know, Mike, you're a season ticket holder, and Kelly and Christina, I know you attend a lot. I'm not sure if you're a season ticket holder or not.
we're
But
ticket
Plan holder.
okay, ticket plan. That's about the same. Yeah. I know you attend a lot of games, so this might be hard for you, but if I was coming from out of town, you already mentioned where you sit, but where do you think are the best seats if you didn't have those seats? Or are they those same seats?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. It's third base side. The dogs are their dugout is on the third base side, and the way the sun comes in, the third base side gets the most sun during the brighter hours. But if you want to try and get autographs from the guys, that's kind of just past third base is a great place to sit before and after the game. But if they also have so many other great seating locations. The bleachers are just as fun. They have bleachers out in the right field, and all the ball hawks hang out in the left field fence below the scoreboard. There's it really depends on what you want out of the game. There's some, like I said, ball hawks, that's where they'll stay the whole game.
Okay.
And other people want to be in the sun. Some people like being in the shade. It's up to your choice. You can do basically anything you want there.
Yeah, and the reason why we're on the third base side is because of, as you said, the sun.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer the shade.
We prefer the shade.
Yeah.
And the third base side is shaded. First base side is shaded. Third base side is in for night games. They actually used to start their games on Sundays at 1:00, and then 2 years ago, I believe it was, they moved them back to 3. And I'm guessing it might be because the sun was directly down on the entire seating. And so, 3:00, it's much more comfortable, at least on our side. But yeah, if you like the sun, definitely go third base side. If you don't, come over here onto the first base side, and you'll be in the shade.
Awesome. Yep. That's always what I look for, especially when you go to games in Texas. I always look for where's the shade, even if it's a tiny piece. That's what I want.
We've done that before.
Yes. We could probably spend all day at the ballpark, but you still are a fan guide for Chicago, right? So I think it's time to explore Chicago, especially since I've never been. So I do want to hit the touristy parts of Chicago for the people who've never been, like myself, but I also want to highlight the area that Impact Field is actually located in Rosemont. So can you talk a little bit about Rosemont area and how someone might fit that into their visit? Things to do?
Well, there's not a lot to do in Rosemont unless you're going to something. Rosemont is tiny. I think we've talked about it. I think you can take every resident of Rosemont and put them in Impact Field and still have seats left open.
Oh, wow.
Because Rosemont, it's right next to O'Hare. So it's airports and a convention center. And then there's the Rosemont Theater.
Yeah, then there's all the hotels. There is an outlet mall.
Literally right by the stadium.
Literally across the street from the stadium. There's a lot of chain restaurants. So if you're like, you know what, ballpark food is not doing it for me, I want to go get, Mediterranean food at Naf Naf Grill instead. You can do that. Yeah, I feel like there's not a ton going on in Rosemont.
It's really like if you unless you're going to a baseball game, a hockey game, or a concert, there's not. Or to the convention center for a convention, there's not too much to do in Rosemont itself. Unless, I don't know if you know anything, Mike.
Well, they do have that. I recall the name of it. I don't go there very often, but it's like a mini out. It's not the outlet mall, but there's something there. There's like a square in the middle, and
Yeah,
they show
just
theaters
across
in
the
it.
highway.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's where they have the yeah, there's like a little outdoor square.
yeah. So they
And
have
that
shopping and food and things. And
Yeah.
in the winter, there's a ice skating rink in the middle, and all summer they have outdoor movies and fun things like that. It's more of a kind of a social area, and
Mhm.
that's
Okay.
just a short walk down the street from the stadium there. But
Okay.
you're right. Otherwise, it's because it's so close to the airport. It's there's not a lot of go out and do
Sure.
there. But
Yeah.
they're trying to build that little area, that zone, into more of a community.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's where
I
they
think
have
there's more coming too.
they
Sorry.
have fireworks there once a week during the summertime, and it's on Thursdays, right?
Thursday. Yep.
So the Dogs games start early on Thursdays because the village puts on the fireworks show. So they start early with the anticipation that the game will end and then the fireworks show starts. But because the fireworks are put on by the village, it's like this is the time it happens. So we've been to a handful of games where it's like the 8th or 9th inning and they have to pause the game
Yeah.
for a fireworks delay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And then once the fireworks are over, the game starts back up.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's-
it's kind of odd. Once or twice, it's been the fireworks lasted too long, and the visiting team were like, "We got an 8-hour bus ride. And they literally the game was called at the 8th inning or something. So
Oh my.
that's very rare, but it has happened too.
Okay.
But
Well,
the fireworks were any seat in the house you could see them. They're gorgeous fireworks. They really do a great job. The village.
okay. On Thursday nights.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So it does sound like we need to get out into Chicago if we're gonna kind of visit it then. So, I mean, there's the well-known tourist attractions that like the Navy Pier, Millennium Park, where Cloudgate, aka the Bean, is, and of course the two baseball stadiums, the Riverwalk, right? What are some other things people should check out in Chicago that may or may not be easily found on a Google search?
I feel like if you the restaurants in the neighborhoods are so good. There's so many wonderful independent restaurants. And you have to go out to neighborhoods like Lincoln Park, Wicker Park, Logan Square, Lakeview. I could list a ton more, but those are kind of like the big ones that have like just really awesome little like bar and grills, gastropubs, all sorts of any type of food you want. You can find something that's amazing.
Yeah. Foodies. It's a foodie paradise down there. There's
yeah.
There's overabundance of
Speaking my
on every
language.
block. Yeah, it's fun. I love live music, so for me, I'm always looking to go to some cooler, out of the way little music joints. So that's my favorite thing to do in the city is go see live music. And there's
Okay.
again ton of smaller venues that have great music there.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So then when we're at a Dogs game, we may or may not eat a Chicago Dogs because we might be saving it for the best one in the city. Where would you recommend someone get the best Chicago dog, Chicago style pizza, and Italian beef?
Well, I can't answer Chicago dog
Yeah.
or Italian beef, but pizza, it's everyone, like most people who come from out of town, it's usually they want to go to Pizzeria Uno.
Really?
Yeah, that's a big one for especially if people are staying in the downtown area, or there's also people want to go to Giordano's, which Giordano's is great, but for me, if you want like good Chicago pizza, it's Lou Malnati's.
Definitely lose.
Okay.
And it's like you can get deep dish Chicago style, or you can get thin pan.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and it's like Chicagoans, we don't really typically eat deep dish all that often.
That often.
For us, it's like pub style where it's all cut in, it's thin crust cut in little squares.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Learning something tonight.
that's like the real what Chicagoans eat. I mean, I love deep dish, but I can only have it maybe once or twice a year.
Right. It is rich.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, the little spurs where you know you don't have to worry about folding it in half and you get
Yeah.
Yeah.
little spur pieces. Now for hot dogs, the Chicago dogs actually have um one of their little booths. There is something called the Wiener's Circle, and that's a joint that they have downtown. In fact, when they premiered, they had their announcement at the Wiener Circle, so you can buy a Wiener Circle hot dog at the Dogs game. But another hot dogs that I love, or close to the stadium actually, there's Gina Jude's, which is a great hot dog joint. And I love Portillo's. There's another, I don't know if you have them out there. It's they actually started out here, and I'm not sure how nationwide they are, but it's a hot dogs and beef. And man, I'll go to Portillo's every day of the week if I could.
Oh,
And the
man.
milkshakes.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, milkshakes and the
And the-
cakes and everything.
And they have veggie dogs too, which are fantastic.
Oh, there you go.
So we can all go together.
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
But the thing I will say for people who don't know, Wiener Circle, their whole thing is they're not at Impact Field, but the location itself in is it Lakeview?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Or Lincoln, it's in Lincoln Park actually. It's in Lincoln Park. They're
Snarky.
yes, they yell at you and you can yell back at them. Obviously, you know, it's all done in fun. You don't want to cross any lines, but it's, you know, they might call you a dumb
Oh,
And-
sounds like a Seinfeld episode.
in a way, yes. So there's many times people who, you know, it's near DePaul University, someone who just comes to Chicago, never been there. So like, oh, hey, let's go there. And they go there and then their eyes just get really big because they're being insulted and being called names they've never heard before.
They were so rude.
It's their shtick. That's the thing. If you go there, you got to have that in mind.
Alrighty. Okay.
But they don't do that at Impact Field.
Okay. Good to know, because I don't want the kids running away.
Right.
Well, all right. So speaking of kids, I always want to ask on every episode because, you know, even though I travel solo to a lot of my road trips, you know, sometimes I bring my kids, and it's kind of why I started this podcast too, because they don't really love baseball, but they love the other parts of it. So when I'm in Chicago, what are some places that I might be able to take younger kids or teenagers?
Well, there's just Navy Pier itself. There's like a lot for kids to do there. Even Millennium Park, and then further down. I mean, I don't think Grand Park does, which is Millennium Park is in Grand Park, but in Millennium Park, there's all kinds of stuff for kids to do.
Yeah.
Or just send them out running around.
The Museum of Science and Industry is amazing. We go there every handful of years, usually when there's a traveling exhibit. We'll go see the traveling exhibit, but then also just enjoy the rest of the museum.
It's very kid friendly.
Mhm.
Yeah, the whole lakefront. There's a bunch of museums out there, and the planetarium and the Field Museum,
Mhm.
and everything's within walking distance. And Millennium Park, you can spend a whole day down there and just have fun. And they have, by the bean, they have this I don't know what they call them, the fountains, the spinning fountains.
Yeah.
It's really neat. It's like an art exhibit, but it's also a wading pool. So they have these large faces, digital faces, and they'll spit water, and then the kids, they just love it. They just play in this little pool area. It's gorgeous. It's really neat, really neat. And then
Very
Brookfield, or not, they have a zoo, Lincoln Park Zoo, which is not too far north from Millennium Park there, and it's free. So kids love zoos.
Oh, it's
There's
free.
the Children's Museum too, which never been because we don't have kids, but I know a lot of people like going there and taking their children there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's at Navy Pier, I think, right?
Okay. Well, doggone it. this interview went really, really quick, and I'm looking at the time, and I want to respect yours and the viewers and the listeners. I know there's probably so much more we could talk about, and we've barely scratched the surface, but this kind of just gives everybody an idea of what to expect and what they can do, when they're traveling. Before we go, Mike, where can we find you on social media if anyone wants to follow some of your Chicago Dogs fanaticism?
All right, I'm mostly on Twitter, and it's Shy Dog Fool, ChidogFool. I do a little bit of Instagram, and then I also have a YouTube channel dedicated to the Chicago Dogs, and I'm going to be starting that up again too. I'm lining up all my interviews for this season, and that's on YouTube. It's called Shy Dog Fool Fancast.
Okay, we'll look out for that again for this season. And Kelly, is there any place that we can find you in your work?
So my personal Twitter is Calibration. And then there's my minor league history series, the Minor League Nerd, which it's a YouTube and a podcast series.
Okay.
The podcast is basically just the audio only version of YouTube.
All right.
And that's just Minor League Nerd, both Instagram and Twitter.
And then also we do a lot of travel for baseball. So we have our travel page, which is Kelstina Visits.
Kelstina Visits. All right. So I will put
Instagram
that.
and Twitter.
Okay, on Instagram and Twitter. I'll put all that in the show notes so that everybody can find you. And that will do it for this fan guide segment for the Chicago Dogs. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So much fun.
Awesome.
And go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Okay, welcome back to the final segment of this episode. We're going to switch gears a bit and talk about a hidden gem of Chicago, Claremont Collections Automotive Museum. Claremont Collections is a not-for-profit automotive museum that houses over 300 eclectic and award-winning vehicles dating back to the early 1900s to the present time. Here today to talk about this museum, I have Mr. Bob Olson, the president of Claremont Collections. How are you today, Bob?
Really good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for coming on today. I'm glad you volunteered to speak with us and be able to highlight the museum. So would you mind sharing a little bit of how you got involved with the museum?
Sure. Actually, I'm a retired detective on the Chicago Police Department, and I had heard of a car museum. And having worked in the city my entire life, I doubted the existence of this car museum. And in part, I was right. It was a car collection at the time. And there is a difference between car collection and car museum.
Mhm.
But either way, I volunteered as a docent for a children's cancer event, a children's charity event. And I walked in cold and literally, met Mr. Claremont and his co-founder, fiance, Joyce Oberlander. And from that point on, we struck up a friendship, a business arrangement, and, ultimately came up with a plan, hatched a plan to start a nonprofit and to actually transition his car collection into a museum.
Oh, very awesome. I don't want to assume, but I did watch some of the YouTube videos on the museum and how the collection started. But can you talk about how this whole collection got started?
Sure. Well, Larry started collecting cars fairly later on in life. I think he was in his late 70s when he started collecting. And he ultimately amassed approximately 600 vehicles and had them stored at various locations. He owned a company, it's still in existence. His children run it, Imperial Realty. So he owned a lot of property and storage units and things like that. So his cars were, again, they were all over the place.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when he met Joyce Oberlander and started sharing the fact that he had all these cars, she convinced him into trimming the collection down ultimately putting them all together and sharing them with the public.
Oh, very nice. So in one of the videos I saw, it said that he went to an auction and won a bunch of cars. Are some of those cars in this museum now?
Yeah, I'd say probably 70% of the vehicles here are ones that were hand selected by Larry.
Oh, very nice. Okay. So while researching the museum, I noticed that it's very educational based. What can car enthusiasts and non-car enthusiasts expect when they visit the museum?
Sure. So it's like a walk through time, and obviously the cars are the stars here, but they represent the technology, the art components, the history from 1900 to present day. So these vehicles are exemplary models of all of that. You know, the 1906 Tourist is the best technology, the finest mechanics, the best engineering of that particular moment in time. You know, the 1913 or 1916 Detroit electric vehicle was, you know, at a time when half of the cars in the face of the earth were electric cars. So there's these educational, historical, and scientific conversations that can take place. And then there's just the whole idea that these vehicles, they tell stories.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times in our social lives, whether we're gathering around, splitting a pizza pie or having dinner, communal dinner, it's about the storytelling. And these vehicles invoke storytelling.
Right. Okay. And then I noticed another thing while researching. It seems like the museum is very much on the philanthropic side. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, Larry himself and his family, made this all possible. So they donated all the cars to the charity. And that transition from car collection to museum, public charity, now shoulders us with the mission of enlightening the next generation as to the role that these vehicles played throughout history. And therefore, we're going to need support as well. So Larry gave us a good jump start, and the museum, will be here for several years and more. But the idea that education is the central component now instead of just pretty cars. So we like to say we're located at the corner of education and entertainment. So while we razzle and dazzle you here, you also get an education, and it could be, on the significance of one particular car. It could be the background of the car, having a prominent owner himself. It could be a vehicle that is very rare. It could be the conversation of, well, why aren't there any American cars that were made between, 1940, say, two and, the end of the war.
Right.
Because, the metal was being dedicated to World War II, and, industry had changed. So there's all these little bundled historical components and lessons and educational stories that are wrapped into these, awesomely made vehicles.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I do, that's what I like about museums. And for myself, just learning, I always call it unnecessary trivia, because then I'm that kind of person that say, oh, in 1942, there was no metal. Those are the kind of things I like to say. So that's pretty cool. What do you think is the most unique car in the collection? And what's the most the one that everybody's favorite?
We have a vehicle here that the tires are actually illuminated.
Nice.
And it's called the Golden Sahara 2. So the vehicle's origin was the Golden Sahara 1. And George Barris, who built the Batmobile, actually was the initial creator of this car. It was a 1953 Lincoln Capri. It was damaged, and then George Barris thereafter converted the car into what we would refer to today like a resto mod, custom. And then one of his associates innovatively brought in components that weren't represented in vehicles at that time. When vehicles first started out, right, they were to get us from A to B. And then the idea of integrating components into the car for comfort, for technology purposes. So this particular car incorporated an automatic starter, pop-it doors. Goodyear had been toying around with a tire that was actually, the rim was wrapped in incandescent light bulbs. The the tire actually literally lit up. And this vehicle that we had ended up acquiring and restoring represented all that technology. And it is pearl and gold. So it has this, you know, Elvis Presley, Liberace, Bruno Mars kind of,
It's beautiful.
thing about it.
I've
It's a
seen
really
it on
pretty
the
car.
website, and I
Yes.
think people that are listening or viewing this now, take a look at the website because it's right there in the front homepage, and it's really cool that those tires, little orangey color light. It's
Yeah, and
really
they
neat.
can change colors too.
Oh,
So that's the
okay.
good part. Yeah.
All right, very nice. And then I have one last question for you. How do you think Mr. Claremont's legacy will live on through the museum?
How does Larry's legacy live on? It lives on through storytelling and us honoring him. So in our museum, we have our LMK room where it's actually Larry in an 11-minute video describing how his collection came together, talking about his past in the military, the effect of World War II on him, his business successes, and then ultimately the gift of the museum to the public. And every time we're at a car show and we engage people in conversation, after we talk about the cars, we talk about Larry. So it's the storytelling, and it's everyone here shouldering his legacy and sharing it.
That's great. And I read about his about page and everything and how he started from, and he really wanted to go into the war and he really wanted to fight. So that, I mean, what an inspiring person, because after he came back and all the businesses he built, that's just awesome. He really was a, the iconic kind of thought when you think of the American dream, right?
It really is. And when you get into his, self-admitted personal background, he had challenges as a young kid. His grandmother took care of him. It's not so uncommon today in the big cities that there's a whole generation of youth that are running around like that. And, he showed that getting back to the basics, going to work, working hard, being dedicated, putting your mind to something, you can accomplish a lot.
Absolutely. Yep. And he, it shows in everything that he does still in Chicago. That's great.
For sure.
If people want to learn more about the museum, where can they find more information online?
Well, we have a really well done social media pages. Our Instagram account, Jasmine's always updating it and keeping everyone in the loop. Our Facebook pages, www.claremontcollections.com. That's Claremont with a K, collections with a K. And we are starting to populate our YouTube channel as well. And of course, you can always come to 3117 North Knox in Chicago, Illinois, Wednesday through Sunday, and pay us a visit. Free parking.
Oh, there you go. I'm always down for the free parking. Well, Bob, I want to thank you again for appearing on the show today. It was really a pleasure to learn about the museum and give the audience an interesting place to add to their itinerary when they're in Chicago. So Chicago is full of wonderful sites and venues. I hope the listeners and viewers consider this a stop on their future road trips when they're exhausting their options for things to do while in town. And on that note, we're outie. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, John.
Well, you could stick a fork in this episode because it's done. Thank you all my guests who came on. I truly relished the moment. If you've been enjoying the episodes, then why not subscribe to the show on YouTube and your podcast platform? If you can take a quick moment to rate the show, then I would be so very grateful. If you like minor league level baseball content, then please give Minor League Fan Club a follow on social media. Head to minorleaguefanclub.com and you can find all of our socials there. Minor League Fan Club is on Instagram, TikTok, X, and we even have a Discord if you want to join. All those are at the site. But if you just search up Minor League Fan Club, you will find us. But anyways, we will see you next week. That was a lot of fun. We really hit that one up.